There are two kinds of people in this world. The people who fail to do what they know they should, and those who keep doing things they know they shouldn't. Guess what? You're both. Hi, I'm your host, life and business coach, Marcy Barker, aka your loving kick in the pants. In this podcast, I'll teach you the 6 steps of my accountability code that will help you wake up with clarity and show up with aligned action steps that make follow through easy and peaceful. All right, let's jump in.
Hello, my beautiful people. I am so excited to bring to you another podcast episode based on submissions I found within my Facebook group. And I guess it's not a submission. There are comments that I found on a post that I was like, this is a really good thing to consider when starting business or continuing to grow in business. So we're going to dive right into it. Again, this is very similar to episodes we've done where people are sharing business advice and we kind of dive a little bit deeper into that. And I tell you if I agree with it or not. And for reference, I have been in business since 2015. I started with online programs, nutrition and personal training programs. And a lot of things have changed in those 8 years. I've switched from personal training and nutrition to do life and business coaching. I've had a team of trainers that worked for me, and I wrote a book. I was part of a big production. Like, a lot of things have changed. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm credible and that is completely up to you if you want to agree with that or not, because we all have our different ideas of what's legit and what's credible. But ending out the year, I hit 6 figures again and beat what I made last year. And my kids are on payroll. And I think that is something that I can be proud of and something that I can speak to and say, hey, here's my opinion on this thing. And, it's really interesting too, because I know that 6 figures is like this thing that you hear about, and some people make it and some people are just trying so hard. That's how I also felt with people who were like 10K months. And I, for a while, beat myself up like, oh, it's not a 10K month. It was only 8,300. Or man, it wasn't a 10K month. It was only 5,700. And then I got to a point where I was like, forget that. Like, I hit 6 figures and guess what? I didn't bring in 10K every single month, but there were some months where I brought in over 20,000. And even now I just have sold 41,000 to date. And this week I have a lot on my calendar to increase that and hit my spring goal before the end of the year even happens. So what I'm trying to get at is there's so many ways to do business and some people have different opinions. And really what I love about what I do with life and business coaching in tangent with using the accountability code is you get to decide how you want to build business, and some information can be extremely helpful and there's other information that you just have to take and be like, that's not for me. So I hope that as you're listening to this podcast on accountability called Your Loving Kick in the Pants, that it ignites you to do something, because everything that I've done only happened because I tried something and I learned from it, and then I pivoted and I kept going. And that's the end of life. Like, we're going to continue to do that. So get comfortable with trying things and seeing how they go. And of course, I would love nothing more than for you to use the accountability code as you do it, because you're going to save yourself a lot of time. Anyway, I want you to be successful in business, and it's going to take practice. In repetitions, like not perfection by any means. You just have to try things. So in my Facebook group, somebody asked the question, what's something you wish someone would have told you early on in your career/business journey? And I'll start with my comment, because this is something that I failed to understand for a long time. And I commented and said, nobody will care about your business more than you. And this stems back to the time where I had a whole team of personal trainers work for me. And it was really, really awesome, because one by one, they all had their own strengths. They all had their own focuses within fitness. And I felt like we made a really cohesive team in what we were trying to build. And I got to a point where there was so much opportunity, and I had a couple of trainers who weren't showing up. And I wanted them so much to use the platform I had built to really make the kind of money that they wanted, but they just weren't showing up. And I thought when we brought them in, they were all excited. They said they could do these things, and then something happened where they're just not there. So that's when I learned that they don't care. I had another trainer who did not even care to put in her timesheets. And I was like, I need to pay you. Can you please turn it in? It's been a week and a half. And she's like, oh, I don't really need that. Like, sorry, I'll do it, but I don't do this for the money, which I think is great. But in order to run a successful business, you got to pay. You got to pay your expenses on time so you know what you're working with. And at another point, another one of my trainers started doing her own thing, and she's like, I'm just really busy. I need to put my family first. I'm going to be done working with you. And I was like, that's totally fine. I absolutely 100% you in putting your family first. And then within 2 weeks, she started trying to steal my clients. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I thought that she respected what we were building here and how much I helped her get her career off the ground. So I learned from that point on, nobody's going to care about your business more than you do. So even if you hire people, you have to recognize that everybody has their own different reasons for doing stuff, but it's probably not the importance of your business that they care about as much as you. All right, let's dive into these comments that came in, and I think a lot of them are really good. And again, it's the hand in the sand thing. You're going to hear something and adopt it, or you'll be like, that's not for me. So again, the question is, what's something you wish someone would have told you early on in your career/business journey? The first comment is, don't hire that coach. I spent $30,000 on coaching, in parentheses, and it left me broke and miserable. Not knowing about the many smoke and mirrors of Utah coaching. Choose wisely. My response to that is, yikes. That I get that. I have also paid for coaching that I was like, this is not the great thing, but I would never blame it on the whole coaching experience within a large geographical region. I think that even if you spent money on coaching and it didn't turn out to be what you wanted, I don't think that's great advice to give somebody who wants to know what they should have known a long time ago. And you know what? That's the whole post. Everybody's response is going to be different, but in a business group, I feel like that is dangerous information that you tell people, like, don't hire a coach. So my opinion, because that's what this whole podcast is about, is my opinion. I think that with coaching, there are so many great coaches out there, but it is on you to ask the questions. It is on you to get the results that you put in. And it is on you to hold your coach accountable if they offered you something and they're not giving it to you. So I think that the biggest things that have helped my coaching business is hiring people who know how to do what I want to do. And hiring a coach can give you all of the advantage you need in saving time and money and energy. So anyway, that's my opinion there. But I think you should hire a coach. I think you should just ask a million questions so you know what you're getting. I think you should have a signed contract. I think that you should know all of the terms. And I think that you should go into it fully prepared and check the vibe of the coach. Anyway, I could go on about that one for quite a bit. And this last week, I've had over 35 calls with people who are interested in my coaching. These are people who said, I want to book a call with you to learn about the thing that you just posted, which was about my coaching program. So I am on the other side of answering all the questions, and your coaches should be vetting you too. So anyway, we could go deeper into that if you guys wanted a podcast episode about that, about how to find the right coach. I think that would be really beneficial. Another comment said, get help. I spent 7 to 9 years making things up as I went along and absolutely drowning in the business. Once I finally figured the right help, my entire business and life changed. This I can get behind and absolutely love, because get help is a very general thing, but it's so true. In business, it's hard to do it on your own. It's especially hard to learn every single part of business, like putting up a landing page, how you do a lead magnet, what do you do with your email list, how do you invoice people, how do you set up a subscription, how do you do your bookkeeping? Like, those are all things you could get help with, and I think that that is 100% important. So if you are in business and not really sure what you're doing, there are so many people out there who have made entire businesses around helping you solve that one thing you need help with.
Hey listeners, the message of waking up and showing up is yours for the taking. In fact, it's free. I've recorded my entire audiobook and I'd love for you to consume it between episodes. Head to marcybarker.com to get instant access to the accountability code Wake Up and Show Up. All right, let's jump back in.
Next comment, don't bother unless you are solidly middle class. Oh, this one is just interesting because, well, the rest of the comment, trying to use a business to claw your way out of poverty is betting against the house. I think this is a really good example of scarcity mindset. And I guess with me, I got a little bit of judgment in this one because I know who commented that. And there are so many people who have worked their way out of a really horrible situation by starting a business. So again, you just have to go into it with smarts. You have to make sure that the thing you're trying to sell is actually something that people want. And I had a call with somebody who was interested in my coaching, and we talked about it, and I had seen her through social media, and I knew what she did as a business, and I was thinking, okay, my product is probably not the thing for her if she's still selling these things. And so I asked her about it. I said, hey, I'm wondering if this is what you're interested in my coaching program for, or if there's something else you offer now that I'm not aware of. And she said, no, it is for those things. And I said, okay, here's what I would do first is go do some market profitability. Like, see who is searching for this thing, see if there's a niche for it, and then we can start to see how to be strategic about your offers so that you can make enough money that this coaching program makes sense for you. And she wrote me back and she's like, no, that makes perfect sense. Like, that's a really good idea. I've never actually searched if people wanted the thing I've been offering for a long time. I just got tired of selling one or two here and there. And I was like, thank you for saving us both time. And for somebody who is betting against the house, I think there's a difference between taking a risk and like knowing what you're going into. Don't start a business and put tons of money down when you're not even sure what the deal is. And here's another thing too. Some of the people I've talked to this past week have purchased businesses with so much excitement, and to come to find out, they purchased a business that had no email list, no customer list, no processes, no expense reports. You know, they were just sold on this idea that it was so good. And I am just like, oh my, somebody got you. Somebody got you good and essentially kind of scammed you. But really, I think that you can start a business and not have it be risking the entire house. There's a lot of questions you can ask first. And one of those is like, go out and search and see if people actually want what you're going to try and sell. Because yeah, you could grow a business on being passionate, but it's like if nobody else feels passionate about the thing you are, nobody's going to buy what you're selling. So anyway, that's a little bit of a rant too. I think that if you are struggling in your business for years and years and years, you got to ask for feedback and you got to get some professional help in terms of business. Like, again, I talked to more people this week who somebody was like, I got to figure out this business thing. I've been doing it for 2 years and I just am not sure what the thing is. And I'm like, okay, how many paying clients do you have? And they're like, well, none. I've never had one. And I'm like, okay, well, we have to figure out what is missing. What gap are you not filling? Because nobody wants to buy your stuff. So those are things that you should do before you start to invest a lot of money within your business. You have to understand and see if people want the thing you're selling. So another comment is learn the foundational nuts and bolts of business first. This I absolutely love too. And I think that that's a comment that's spot on. When I first started my business, I started it in September of 2015. And the next year in business, I flew 8 times to different conferences on internet marketing, and I learned. Now, internet marketing, I would say, is different than this comment of foundational nuts and bolts because I didn't learn that. How do you set up a business? How do you start putting together one thing at a time? I don't think I ever learned that officially. And I didn't have anybody in my life who had done that. I mean, my husband has been an independent contractor forever, but, you know, he always got solid work from one of his clients. And that's different than going out and building a business and advertising and marketing and all that great stuff. So I think learning the foundational nuts and bolts of business first is great. Just don't get stuck in the paralysis mode where you're like, everything has to be perfect before I launch. And maybe that's how those couple of people started, you know, the people who said, I've been in business for 2 years, but I'm not making any money. And they probably just got stuck in that perfection mode where everything has to be perfect before I actually start putting my offers out there or practicing the kind of coaching that I want to deliver. So I think this is really great. Next comment, don't do it the same way as you see others doing it. You have to find your own purpose and way of doing things. Absolutely, 100% agree. And I don't think there's any problem with taking bits and pieces of things that you experienced and then making them your own. In fact, that's why I started my personal training business. Is I worked with 2 personal trainers. One had a fantastic Facebook group that helped me learn everything I needed to know, but she tried to turn me vegan. And then another personal trainer I worked with took all of my money for a challenge, and I never saw her again. So I was like, maybe I could do this better. Maybe I can set up a challenge and charge people and be there for them. And I can have an awesome Facebook group where I answer everybody's questions, but they don't have to be vegan. They just have to be better today than they were yesterday. And that is exactly how I started my business. And I think this person's comment of you have to find your own purpose and way of doing things, absolutely. But don't try to reinvent the wheel either. Take what is already working and then make it your own. All right, the next person said, offer your skills to someone already doing what you want to do so you can learn from the experts. So that's an interesting comment. Offer your skills to someone already doing what you want to do so you can learn from the experts. I'm not exactly sure what that means, offer your skills to them. Maybe she's talking about like apprenticing them or saying, hey, I'll be your assistant in your business and then you learn the ropes. I've never tried that one, but I do know that that is a very important thing that I've heard in business books of like, hey, you want to open a bakery, go and work at a bakery and figure out everything that they do. The way the author of that book was saying it was not the best. It was kind of like learn all the secrets and then go do your own and then call it paid training. You know, you got paid to learn a business because you're an employee. Anyway, I think that there is a lot of different ways you can collaborate where this comment makes some sense. Where somebody's like, hey, I want to be a virtual assistant. Can I pretend be your virtual assistant so I can prep all of my offers and my packages and get some practice and then, you know, give me a testimonial? I think that's great. So that's probably what that comment is meaning too. The last comment that came in said, fall in love with your client. Your business is not about you. It's about your client. Without clients, you don't have a business. I really like this. And again, I'm going to tweak it a little bit to bring some sense of it in my brain. Is your business is about you, but you have to learn how to message the correct way to your clients, the people who are going to be paying you money to do what you do. So I think there is a very good way to say, what am I getting out of this and what is the customer getting out of it? Because in order for you to get what you want out of it, you have to give the customer what they want. So we're going to leave it right there. Ladies, gentlemen, whoever is listening to this podcast who wants a little loving kick in the pants, really, you have to take action on the things that you hear. And yes, we could get business advice all day long, but at the end of the day, nothing's going to happen until you actually choose to do it. And it doesn't matter if you hire a coach for $30,000 and you learned the greatest lessons. That right there is not a fail. It's a way that you learned what will work and what won't work for you, and you continue to move forward. You know, side note, I have made some bad investments over the past couple of years. And the only thing that has always made it okay is I am confident in my ability to earn income. And so it's like, if something bad happens, it doesn't matter. Just keep going. Just keep going. You can figure it out. So in your own business, figure out those things that will make sense for you, because at the end of the day, you could take advice from everybody else, but you've got to figure out what's right for you. And you have to know what you're willing to sacrifice in order to learn the lesson on the other side. So if you haven't yet, if you're still listening to this podcast and you still haven't cracked open the book of the accountability code, I hope that you do. You can get a physical copy from Amazon. You can get it from my website, but you can also get the free audiobook like you've heard in every episode since the beginning. So we're going to see you all next week. And if you haven't cracked open the code, do it. I'm here for you. If you want to even just get a taste of it with me on a free phone call, I am more than happy to do that. Just head to my website, marcybarker.com, and let's set up a time to chat. Other than that, we'll see you all next week for another episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants.
Hey friends, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. If you got any value out of this episode, I would love for you to drop me a review or share with a friend what you learned. All right, I'll see you next Wednesday for Your Loving Kick in the Pants.